Jerry. I'm the painter, and I've been painting since 1969. And after the very first painting I ever did, I knew that it was my life. And I started planning my whole life around painting, which meant instead of full-time jobs, I started looking for part-time jobs so I could paint more, because I was staying up to 6 in the morning to do my paintings. So basically art took over my life. Now, I don't have anything representing the 60s. As close as we get to that, and what I have sold is a series from 2004. And in that series, I came out of abstraction and wanted to get back into a little bit of suggestion of figurative stuff, because I wanted to bring in the human emotion and let go of some of the human emotions that I was holding inside of myself through canvas. And so I brought in figurative things. And that lasted for about 2 years. And these are the two of that particular period of my life. I was living in a Mission at the time, which can be a very emotional place in itself. So we moved to Twin Peaks. And when I moved to Twin Peaks, I had a view. And in the view, I was seeing horizon lines and a lot of clouds and a cityscape from a distance. So I decided to take that, and I started using it. I couldn't control it any more than I could control the full moon coming. So I started incorporating it into the canvas. I just let it come out. It needed to come out, and I did. So I started doing this, what I call the horizontal series, which is basically my interpretation of landscape. And I was incorporating clouds, horizon line, and foreground of land. And I was keeping it as loose as I can in an abstract way, because I didn't want to start getting too much into realism. From that place, I started going back into my abstraction, because for me, abstraction is a dance where I have no preconceived ideas when I'm going into the surface of the canvas. And I started applying the paint, and I'm waiting for direction as I apply I'm waiting for the paint to tell me where it's going to go. And I start getting the sense of composition, and then I start pushing and pulling the surface of the canvas and trying to bring it to a place of comprehension, completion. Sometimes, if that's not working, and I'm not finding the direction, all at once I'll bring something into it to put a frame around all of it. And in this particular painting, I did that with kind of giving an interpretation of a bowl, so I could define what was going on all around the space I had already been working. But for the most part, I like to keep the abstraction as freelance as I can and let people have their own personal involvement. And when they're involved with the painting, I'm not telling them what's on the canvas. They're finding their own direction and their own interpretation of the composition, and they have their own personal involvement. Now, some people do not have any appreciation for abstraction because they don't understand it, and they think, who couldn't do that? Well, it is complicated, because you're pushing and pulling a flat surface and you're trying to make it look deep. Whether it looks representational or not doesn't matter. It's the fact that you're actually pushing and pulling the surface of the paint and giving it a sense of depth. And so that's what I've been working on for the last few years, and that's what I'm doing now. My tools are, I have two tools that I usually favor, and they're both house painting knives. One's about a 3-inch knife, and the other one's a 6-inch blade. And so I'm taking the two knives like this, and I actually just put the paint straight on the canvas. I just squirt it out of the tubes and put it on the canvas, and I start taking those knives and it's very fast. I'm in a lot of action. I'm moving back and forth. I'm running in my own apartment, and it usually takes me, I cannot stop. It usually takes me about 14 hours to complete the painting, and then I'm done and I just collapse. But it's extremely fast motion, and usually when it's all over, my knees are killing me, my back is killing me, but I don't feel the pain while I'm in the process. I'm just caught up at the moment. But usually after I complete a painting, I'm waiting for that to dry, or I push it off to the side of a room and start on another canvas right away. I think the action, there's a rhythm to a certain amount of action going on, and applies itself to the next canvas because I'm caught up in the moment. But it's not like I'm approaching the canvas to repeat that. It's just the action and the amount of intensity that's going on through me, and it seems to repeat itself through painting. And then it tends to taper off and go into another direction. And it's all oil, and for me, I'm amazed that I've gotten to a place to where it's not turning muddy, because I'm putting wet paint on top of wet paint all at the same time. And I've learned how to apply the pressure of the knife. And it's intuitive now. It's not like I'm thinking it out as I go, because once I start thinking about it, I trip on my own stuff. But if I'm not thinking about it and I just let that flow like a river, it just finds its own direction to the sea, and it becomes a complete piece. Well, I started in '69, and I started the knife. What happened was I was using brushes until the early '80s, and my brushes got hard. I couldn't afford the thinners, and when I went to go do another painting, all my brushes were, and I thought, okay, what do we do with this? And then I had all these putty knives that I had from work, because I was also painting houses. And I thought, well, all you're doing really, Jerry, is moving paint around on the surface. Grab these knives and try it. So it's taken me, what you see is where I'm developed from the 80s with knives and paint.
It's almost like a dance, huh, Jerry?
It is totally a dance. I'm waiting for the direction to tell me where to go, and I'm open to it. If I'm not open to it, I can see it's contrived, and I realize that I was fighting the flow of it, and that happens when I'm trying to control it. But if I let it go and it's like a musician. It's not thinking about the next note. It just hears the next notes and starts putting them down. Almost like it's in an automatic process.
While you're doing the work, do you have music in the background?
I personally like the music, and it needs to be something with this pretty much a consistent sound, because if the sounds start varying, then it changes my emotional involvement with the paint. It's either that or silence. And I have been known to do it through movies too, but then I tend to like block out the TV.
Any favorites?
Whatever I crank up is going to start the beat. Yeah.
Oh.
So I can go from classical to jazz, and it's just like, I think the painting is telling me what to do. And then once that starts telling me what to do, I get an idea of what kind of music I want to put on.
So from music to the beat to the rhythm to the art piece to the canvas.
Right. First I was making a lot of muddy colors, and I wasn't able to keep the colors clean. It was frustrating. But, after just applying and applying and applying, knowing that it could be done, but waiting for it to develop. Like anything in life, you develop. When you learn how to walk, you're falling, but you eventually walk without thinking about where you're going.
Do you think you've reached the plateau, or is it just a new beginning? Really?
I'm waiting for new developments, and if it became a controlled situation with controlled thoughts, then I wouldn't have the interest, and it wouldn't be challenging anymore.
This kind of medium really offers you flexibility and freedom then, huh?
Totally, and I depend on that place.
Any recommendations for kids or messages for the young generation?
They pay attention to the creative part of your life. Do not let the analytical take over. Analytical is important because it's what we use, technology and stuff in life. But if you have that creative edge to you, you can take technology to other levels too, because you are exercising creativity. So the creative part of life is very important. Please pay attention to your creative side.
How's spirituality involved in your painting?
I have a very deep sense of communication with the universe, and I can sometimes feel people without communicating directly, especially people who I'm close to. So I know there's a sense of something. I don't know how to define that. I don't put a face.
It really does show in your paintings, though.
Thank you.
What's the next phase for Jerry? What would be?
That I cannot predict. That is like saying where we're going to end up tomorrow. We could have an earthquake and it could all fall apart. I'm not predicting the future. I wait for the canvas to tell me where I'm going. And that's a place I like because it's always an adventure.
You plan to be a teacher?
No. Teaching is an individual thing. I cannot do it under a format, but I have taught people different levels of life, how to get through different struggles they were having, and people have taught me the same thing. And I've also taught people how to be creative. But I have never done that in a structured way. It's always been an individual thing. I only have time for it to be on an individual level because it takes me a lot of energy to do that.
When looking for a student,
we find each other. I don't know. When I feel the calling, it's like something magical in the universe is bringing two people together and making it happen. It's like the guru and the teacher meeting. I do not look for it, I wait for it.
And what colors is the most difficult to work with?
Well, I don't find color as being the difficulty. I find him letting it speak to me and tell me how to work with it and letting it be free and experience that with it is a difficulty because people have a tendency to want to control everything. And if I just let it speak to me, then color is a wonderful experience and it takes me to a place.
How did you deal with the mud issue?
I kept working the surface and kept building it up until I got past the mud. And it didn't take me very many paintings. There's been a few ripped up canvases, mind you. That knife did a lot more than applied paint. That knife also ripped up a few paintings. Because with art, there is frustration. And when you're frustrated, that gets to come out too. And it should. You should not hold on to your frustrations. If you can express it by slapping the paint on the canvas or ripping the canvas, it's okay. It's okay. It's part of the learning process.
What single element you added to this art show?
Jerry. Where Jerry has gone with paint. My journey with paint. I think each artist in this show has brought in their own journey to play, and I'm just very appreciative that I got to experience all the different artists that are here and see what their journey has been, because it's all been a unique journey for each one.
Any last words?
Thank you. Thank you for your time.